Hello everyone, my name is Abhishek and welcome back to my channel. So today I have Savinder on the podcast and there is particularly no theme for this podcast. Savinder has almost 24 years of experience in IT and most of his experience is in this DevOps build and release background. So we will try to learn from his experience and particularly I have some questions which you might also have. So it will be a casual conversation, and I'm sure you would learn a lot of things by watching this podcast. So, yeah, Savinder, thank you so much for taking your time out today. And especially, it's too early in the morning, at least for me. So, yeah, would you like to introduce yourself to our subscribers?
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you for having me on the channel. And I
Yeah,
agree, it is way too early for me also, but
yeah,
we have to do what we have to do. So like you said, I did my engineering in the year 2000 from
okay,
Pune, from D.Y. Patil College. And in these last 23, 24 years, I've had the opportunity to work in large enterprises, in SIs, services companies. I've worked in two startups. I've also had the opportunity to work across, obviously, India, US, UK, Europe, South Africa. So I've
nice,
kind of, traveled the room. And I'm also ambassador at CDF, Continuous Delivery Foundation, DevOps Institute. And along the way, I also managed to write two books. One
Hmm,
is how to build or scale your DevOps career.
hmm.
And the second one is around spirituality.
Got
And
it.
I also run a YouTube channel where I try and merge tech and spirituality.
Amazing. So, how did it all started? Like, when you came out of your college, right? You must have joined this organization, and did they directly put into this role called build engineer? Maybe you were unaware at that time, like what even
Sure.
a build engineer does. So,
Correct.
how did it all started?
Yeah, so I'll give a bit of backstory here.
Yeah.
So I was not one of the brightest students in college,
Okay.
right? I did not have a fantastic GPA,
Okay.
and I did everything that you should do in college and a little bit more.
Okay.
So I have no regrets from college life. I have enjoyed it thoroughly. I've did whatever you should do there, right? And by the time we came to third year, I realized that I'll probably not get through campus placements,
Okay.
right? And that is when it started hitting me that if not campus, and I
Hmm.
have to get a job before I pass out of college,
Okay.
because my dad he was in the army, so there are no factories where I can go and sit,
Hmm.
right? I have to figure out my own way. So then I started getting serious. And
Hmm.
by the beginning of fourth year, I already had an internship with an organization.
Hmm.
And that's where, we did the project there. I got the internship there. And I was practically eating, living, sleeping in that organization.
Okay.
And the goal of life was that this thing should not end. Before this internship ends, I should have a full time offer.
Okay.
Was the only objective. So
Hmm.
I made myself so ingrained in their organization that without me, even if one server was not working, I would get a call. Hey, ye nahi chal raha hai, run.
Okay.
That's how all of us have done it, right? That's
Yeah.
how I did it.
Hmm.
So I got in there, and I'll give you an interesting fact. So at one point, when I was almost around the passing out time, I joined another organization, which was a Java teaching institute, right?
Java.
They used to teach Java. It was
Okay.
a Java
Hmm.
coaching center,
Hmm.
right? 99, 2000, Java was at its
Yeah.
peak,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So at that time, I did a batch for Zensa Technologies,
Okay.
where I was teaching RMI and Corba.
Hmm.
Now, a lot of your subscriber might not even know what the heck this is.
Yeah.
But these are technologies for remote invocation of instances for Java at that time, very
Hmm.
popular.
Hmm.
So I took a batch of RMI and Corba for Zensa Technologies in 2020.
Hmm.
And 16 years
You mean
later, I joined Zensa
you
in
mean
Pune.
2000? You mean
Sorry,
2000? Yeah.
2000, sorry,
Yeah.
2000. And 16 years later, in 2016, I joined Zensa.
Okay.
And then I went on to become the head of DevOps for Zensar.
Got it.
So yeah, so that's kind of been my story. I landed in DevOps by chance. I had no idea what it is.
Hmm.
My first official designation was build jockey.
Okay.
Yeah, so I used to create software builds, and then I've got in by chance, but I stayed back by choice.
So I will come back to the DevOps point, but uh, particularly talking about the corporate culture itself, like you have been here for a while, right? 24 years. So how do you feel, or how do you see the cultural drift? Like when you joined in 2000 and right now in the world of remote jobs where, people work in the hybrid model. So do you see the culture exploited, or do you see it is growing in a good way? What is your take?
It's a good question, and I've seen two sides of the world. At
Hmm,
that time, we didn't have a lot of exposure. We were
hmm,
novice,
hmm,
right? And we did whatever we thought was best,
hmm,
and whatever you could talk to, five seniors or people,
hmm,
some bhaiya didi who was doing something,
hmm,
right?
hmm.
That's the only source of information we had.
Learning, yeah,
Learning, we figured things out, right?
exactly, yeah.
There was no other way to confuse ourselves,
Hmm,
right? Today, what I'm seeing is because of this information overload,
hmm,
there is so much information out there
hmm.
that instead of leveraging that information, people are getting confused
Yeah.
because they have so many options,
Hmm, hmm.
right? So that is one big difference that I'm seeing there. You know, I was in VIT Vellore last week,
Okay, nice.
right? And one of the students asked me, "What was your inspiration to get into DevOps?"
Hmm.
I said, "Buddy, DevOps term wasn't even coined when I started. What inspiration are you talking about? Nothing."
It's not by choice.
It's not
Yeah,
a chance, no?
yeah.
It was what it was. Whatever
Huh,
came our way, we did a good job and
huh,
we kept enjoying. I kept staying in that field.
huh.
Initially, at one point, I did a little bit of QA also. I was a QA lead.
Okay, okay.
Something else came along and this looked more exciting. So I moved here.
Yeah,
It wasn't a very strategically executed 24 years.
yeah.
No,
Just go with the flow.
just go with the flow, right? And
Yeah.
keep learning, keep growing, whatever you like enjoying, keep doing it.
But how about that cultural change that you have seen? Okay. Uh, there might be changes in the technology and there might be changes in the way of learning, like you mentioned. But do you also see that cultural change? Like when you started, typically everybody used to be in the office, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
believe, I believe everybody used to be in the office. And
of course.
you also might have started your career under a very strict supervision, like, okay,
Yeah,
come to office at this particular time, leave the office at this time. But
yeah.
now when typically start people start their career, there are no such things, right? Maybe if someone's starting their career in Zensar,
Mm,
you don't have that hard restrictions that come at this time, go at this time, you need
yeah.
to come to office every day. So how is this cultural change? Are you enjoying it?
It's a big change,
Yeah.
right? It's a big change. And I think there are good parts and bad parts of the change,
Hmm,
right?
hmm,
Good parts is, yeah, it gives you flexibility. You can work from anywhere. You can be on the beach and work. That's
hmm,
all okay. That's all sounds very sexy. But the reality is, if you're a fresher or if you have 2, 3 years experience, you need that office environment to be able to learn things.
hmm. Okay,
Right? You
nice.
need that proximity of people where somebody's talking about something in a cubicle, you
Hmm.
overhear something, you walk up and say, "Arey, kya baat kar rahe ho? This is
Exactly.
interesting. Tell me more."
Exactly.
That you cannot replicate over Zoom, however hard you try,
Yes.
or it needs a certain years of experience to be able to replicate that.
100%. Yeah.
Right? So I started working remote after 16, 17 years of experience.
Hmm.
And I knew how to do water cooler conversation on Zoom.
Hmm. Hmm.
I learned that art. Right? But if you're a fresher, you don't know how to do that and you
Yeah.
miss out that part. It's a very important part,
Makes sense.
right? And you said like the rigor, the strictness,
Hmm.
you know, I think that is required to a certain extent.
Hmm.
because then you learn discipline, which is very important later in life.
Yeah.
You know, it's little controversial what I'm saying. I know
No,
that,
no, no,
but
but
that's the fact.
no, but to some extent, it is also right because even I feel that at least in the early stages of your career, if you
Hmm.
go to office every day, you get a lot of learning because you are
Yeah.
coming out from college where
Hmm.
your approach is different, your mindset is different, right? You might learn from the internet, you might learn from chat gpt, other sources, but what you learn physically from a person who has already broke that system,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
From a
Yeah.
person who knows in and out about that system, that's a
Yeah.
complete different experience. So
So
even I would agree because in the initial stages of my career, what I learned gives me like that strong fundamentals, and I learned that from people.
correct. And I'm a very big believer of going on the whiteboard and
Hmm.
drawing stuff out.
Yeah.
I'm a very big believer of that.
Hmm.
Anything which is complicated, the moment you take a marker and go to your drawing board,
Hmm.
your thought becomes clear,
Yeah.
right? And that discussion is invaluable. It
Hmm.
cannot be done on a virtual board in looking at the screen. That energy just doesn't exist.
True. Like last 4 years, I don't go to office. I work
Yeah.
from the same room. Right
Yeah.
now, it doesn't matter
Correct.
because I have gained a lot of experience, and now I know how to learn things. Right.
Yeah.
Uh, that's a different thing. I know how to make a conversation with people.
Hmm.
I'm talking to you for the first time, and if I have to extract some information, I can make that conversation and I can get that knowledge.
Yeah.
But in the initial stages of your career, I think it's important.
It's very important. It's very important. You otherwise you miss that connection,
Yes.
right? You learn a lot of things which so like they say, right? The finer things in life cannot be taught. They are just picked up.
Yeah.
When you watch your seniors, you just learn some things just by behavior, body language, how they do their lunch, sitting with lunch in the office canteen.
Hmm.
That's a very important thing.
Nice. So, Savinder, let's switch to DevOps. And
Mm.
like you started as a build jockey, like a build engineer, right?
Yeah.
And now it's the world of complete CI/CD, zero touch automation, single click deployment, right?
Mm.
So can you explain that transition? Like when you were doing a build engineer, what was your day to day life? What you used to do? How many types typically you used to build? And now, like throughout your career, how did it transition?
Sure. Sure. So, um, so when I started building, I used to work for a company called Neilsoft,
Okay.
which is in the mechanical space. And
Hmm.
at that time, they used to do localization for Autodesk projects.
Acha. Hmm.
Autodesk is in CAD CAM software,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
they use to design mechanical parts. And for their products, we used to localize it, meaning we used to get the English product,
Hmm.
and then we used to localize it and translate it into multiple languages.
Hmm.
So that was my job. I was a build engineer in the localization space.
Got
So
it.
we would take the product, take the translation
Hmm.
from the country offices,
Hmm.
and then create another build.
Makes sense. Hmm.
So at that point, I was very deep into Perl because all of this was the build script as such was written in Perl.
Well, okay. Hmm.
One, God Almighty guy sitting in Switzerland, Neuchâtel, he was the god of our build engineering.
Yeah.
He had written this massive line, and which was actually sort of like Jenkins,
Hmm. Hmm.
but he had written it by hand,
Got it.
right? And that is where I started from. But
Hmm.
what it taught me is how is all of this working in a Perl, in a 10,000 line Perl script? And what happens when this thing bloody breaks? How do you fix it?
Hmm.
Right? So that's where I started from. And over the years, in 2006 7, I used to work with Siemens PLM,
Hmm.
which is, big software, big enterprise, PLM software. There are software, the build time itself was 36 hours.
Oh, okay.
No, running on 4 parallel blade servers. That's
Hmm.
what the build would take. So
Nice.
you trigger a build now, and 36 hours later, if everything works, it will work.
Hmm.
If not, if it breaks, then you have to figure out what happened,
Hmm.
and then you have to start from where it broke.
Less chance of error. Hmm.
Oh, we when we started the build, we used to pray, "Ke Bhagwan, ye patega, please, bas." And we were building on 9 flavors of Unix, 5 flavors of Windows,
Hmm. Hmm.
everything from SGI to HPIA and all of that stuff.
Interesting. Hmm.
That's where I learned the core of Unix.
Hmm.
That's where we build data centers. I know how to do data center cabling.
Hmm.
That's where we have chilled beers in the data centers, spent
Yeah.
all-nighters. I've done all of that.
First time when I went to a data center, I think it's
Mhm.
like 8 years, 9 years back.
Right.
I think at least that time who started their career, I think they
Hmm.
were the last ones to witness a data center, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Now it's gone. It's
now it's
gone now.
gone. Yeah. And
So at that time, one of my bosses used to say, before you touch my build server, you first learn how to cable the damn thing.
yeah, yeah.
Right? Like now, when I was learning the car, my
Hmm.
dad taught me before you touch the steering wheel, you need to know what the engine is.
So we used to have this server room, and
Uh-huh.
I did not do that cabling and all, but whenever there is a support ticket that we used to raise to Dell. Okay,
Correct.
so Dell guys used to come and they used to fix something in the servers. So
Correct.
I
Correct.
used to just accompany them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when I go to that server room, right, it's very fascinating. You have
Yeah.
so many servers that are connected, and
Yeah.
they used to just bring a display, connect it to the
Yes.
server.
Pull out that display.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's like
very
rocket
interesting.
science. It's
Exactly.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
from those days to then, in the 2010-ish time frame, all of that, I had my own little consulting gig
Okay.
where
Hmm.
I was working for one of the startups, and the
Hmm.
problem statement given to me was from code check-in
Hmm.
to deployment in production
Hmm.
should be less than 10 minutes.
Okay. Less than 10 months. Yeah.
Less than, no, 10 minutes.
10
10
minutes.
minutes.
Okay. Hmm.
So I check in, everything should happen, tuck, 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 and
Yeah.
possibly deploy to production. I need
Hmm.
this in less than 10 minutes. That was the
Hmm.
problem statement given.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I've been from 36-hour build to 10 minutes to production. I've seen that journey.
Yeah. So again, this is interesting, right? Because a lot of people ask today,
Hmm.
will AI replace DevOps or will AI replace someone? So
Yeah,
yeah, people who have experience, they know it is not possible. But for a fresher or someone who is right now learning, right? They get confused with this question. Now, if you take Savinder's experience as an example, you can clearly see from 36 hours to 10 minutes, nothing replaced Savinder, right? So it's
yeah,
all that you learn things, you learn how to automate. If not, you will be replaced.
absolutely. That's very important. So I'll
Hmm,
give you another example.
hmm,
In those days in Siemens,
hmm,
when we used to release to production,
hmm,
a release manager would come with a huge Excel sheet
hmm.
and say, this is what your SBOM is, your software bill
So
of
build of
material.
yeah, yeah. Hmm,
Right? Basically,
hmm,
these are the 10,000 files in your build.
hmm,
Now tell me why you are releasing this.
hmm.
Right? Because this was not there in the last release. Why
Very
are
good.
you releasing?
Very good. Yeah. Hmm,
So I have been to a situation where I had to justify each DLL, each binary
hmm, hmm,
out of those 10,000 which are shipping in.
hmm,
Right? So from there, Excel sheet now to a mend.io creating your SBOM,
hmm.
fundamentally it is the same thing.
Yes.
Now you don't have to justify each file because the software does it for you.
Hmm,
But if you have been through that, you can double click on that report and say, hey, this report given by this software is probably wrong. Let me look at it.
hmm.
So it's become easier now, but the fundamentals will never change because this is engineering. This is
Yeah.
software engineering. Those fundamentals will never change.
Yeah. But if you are stubborn, then that if you are stubborn to accept the change, like the build is taking 36 hours, why
Yeah.
should I learn something new? If you were stubborn, I think then something would have replaced you.
You would have been gone,
Yeah.
long gone.
Hmm.
Yeah, because even with those 36 hours, we brought it down to under 24 hours in the
Hmm.
5, 6 years that I was there. Because
Hmm.
we were always trying to do things, right? How can
Yeah.
we parallelize things? How can we do this? How can we bring
Hmm.
it to a newer architecture? We were trying stuff.
Yeah.
And you're very right. If you stop learning,
Yeah.
that is more important today because the speed of change is very fast.
Got
It
it.
wasn't that fast 15 years back.
Hmm. Hmm. You're,
Now, if you don't adopt, in one
yeah,
year, you're gone.
exactly. Yeah, adaptability is very important.
Very,
And
very,
if
very, very.
something, what I feel is that if something is revolutionizing things, like if
Hmm.
AI is revolutionizing, learn AI. It's not that you need to learn how to write a ML model or you need to run how to, create AI, but at least learn
Correct.
how to use it.
Yeah. And on this AI thing,
Hmm.
I have a very simple explanation. There
Hmm.
are three types of people who are doing AI.
Hmm.
One is the engineer who works with OpenAI,
Hmm. Hmm.
who's sitting in California
Hmm.
and who's designing this,
Yeah.
who's designing the LLM algorithms. They are
Hmm.
actually scientist category people,
Yeah. Hmm.
right? If you're not one of those, maybe 20 in Bangalore, then
Hmm.
you're not that category.
Hmm. Hmm.
Let's get it clear,
Hmm.
right? So we are not that. Then there are people who take that and build companies on top of it.
Hmm.
Who use those services and build
Yeah.
another model, build a
Yeah. Yeah.
wrapper, whatever.
Hmm.
Right? Those are still sitting in the startups of the world or still doing cutting edge technology.
Hmm.
People listening to this podcast, 95% are not those also.
Hmm.
That's a fact.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The rest of us are all users of AI,
Yes.
right? Where we need to be knowing what is latest, what's going on, what model released, and why should we learn it, and
Hmm.
how is this relevant to what I am doing in my work today.
100%.
That's all we need to know.
Yeah.
Right? If we keep our eyes and ears open, there are more than enough literature. Instead of getting worried about it, all we have to do is keep an eyes and ears open, learn what's happening, and then see what is the relevance of that in my organization. And all organizations today are running some sort of AI experimentation.
Hmm. Hmm.
Get involved with that, volunteer for that,
Yeah.
and figure out.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be scared of.
Obviously. And what I feel is you can also do things at your level. Like, okay, in your organization, if you are not getting a chance, do things at your level. Like, use AI tools for your productivity. Today,
Okay.
I use a lot of AI tools for my personal productivity. And I'm damn sure that if someone who is not using those AI tools, I'm at least like two times productive than them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it takes literally nothing, just that mindset.
Correct. And then you are ready for your organization also.
Yeah,
Right? You are more ready than somebody who's completely unknown, unaware.
exactly.
But that's a personality trait, right?
Yeah.
Because if nobody's giving me a chance, I will create my own chance.
Hmm.
If you have that mentality, then nothing can stop.
Yeah. So now, if I ask you like, how do you learn things? Because every day there are new things that are coming, right? And people usually think as the experience grows, your level of learning skills comes down. Like, I don't believe that, but there is that general perception that okay, I have 20 years of experience now. How do you think I can learn something, a new trend in the field, right? So, what is your take on that, and how do you learn things?
Sure, that's a good question. So,
Mm.
the way I like to look at it, I
Mm.
have thought of a methodology to do that. And I
Okay.
like to call it the KSM methodology:
Okay.
knowledge, skill, and mastery.
Hmm.
What that means is knowledge is of all the 10,000 things that are going on in the world.
Okay.
But that is at a superficial level.
Hmm.
Do I know what is Claude? Yes. Do I know what is perplexity?
Hmm.
Yes. I know that, that is what it is. I have an account there. I've gone ahead and tried some experiment.
Hmm.
That's all I know. That
Hmm.
is knowledge, which
Hmm.
is basically general knowledge. Then from that 10,000 things,
Hmm.
I pick up 100 things,
Acha.
which is skill,
Hmm.
which is relevant to what I am doing.
Okay.
That how can I use a GitHub Copilot
Hmm.
to write a Terraform script?
Nice.
That is skill,
Hmm.
right? And so 10,000 to 100.
Hmm.
And then from this skill, if I am an infrastructure engineer today, and
Hmm.
if I do cloud operations,
Hmm.
I have to, from this 100, I have to pick up two and get mastery in that,
Hmm. Nice.
right? So I focus on that and then I go deep on that.
Okay.
But depth, you can only do in one or two or three things. That's all.
Hmm.
But others, you should have knowledge of 10,000,
Breadth. Hmm.
skill of 100,
Hmm.
mastery over one or two.
Very nice. Very well put. Yeah.
Whenever something new is coming in,
Hmm.
I start with knowledge
Hmm.
and then I see how relevant is this for me.
Hmm.
If it is, I go to skill. If it is still very, very relevant, then I go to mastery. But that's the ratio.
Hmm.
10,000 to 100 to 2,
Got it.
right? And that's the lens that I use. Everything I should have an eye on, I should know about it, I should be able to open a conversation. But if you ask me deep down reference architecture for something, then that I will know about one or two things.
Understood. And are you typically a documentation person, or you learn from videos? What is your mode of learning?
Video
Okay.
and documentation here.
अच्छा. Okay.
बस इसका वीडियो नहीं बनता है कोई नहीं बना रहा इसके वीडियोस so you start with videos general literature and when you want to
Hmm.
go down you
Hmm.
have to go to documentation because there is no other way out you
Hmm.
have to go to the reddits and read stuff
Hmm.
because उसके बनते ही नहीं है because it's not possible also
Makes sense.
so that's what it is.
Right. And what is your current day-to-day at work? Like after 24 years in IT, right?
Hmm.
Now you are heading something. So
Yeah.
how does an experienced person, like after having so much experience in your IT in the IT industry, so
Mhm.
what is your day-to-day life? Like if you can simply break down.
Sure. So I've now rejoined Zensa a couple of months back,
Okay.
and I head their DevOps, DevSecOps, SRE
Hmm.
practices globally.
Nice.
Right. So what that means is now I engage with customers
Hmm.
at a C level,
Hmm.
and they can be different types of customers. Most
Hmm.
customers are doing some shape and form of DevOps.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they're saying, "Hey, we have this. This is our problem statement. This is where we want to go. How do we
Nice.
go from here to here?"
Hmm.
So sometimes that problem statement is not well defined. Or it is not a business problem statement. It is a technology problem statement.
Got it. Hmm.
And they need help in creating a technology problem to a business problem.
Hmm.
And the reason you need to do that, because what we are doing at the end of the day is technology.
Nice.
It has to be funded by somebody.
Hmm.
वो fund तभी होगा when you connect it to a business goal, which says, hey, everybody says, I want to release faster.
Hmm.
My
Hmm.
question to them is why?
Hmm.
What happens today? You're doing one release a month. If you
Hmm.
do, 5 releases a month, what changes in your life?
Makes sense. Hmm.
Because to be able to do that, you'll have to spend money and time and efforts.
Hmm.
Is the ROI worth it or not? So, those are the kind of conversations I have to start with, which is around the business value of DevOps, the ROI of DevOps,
Hmm.
that is with the executive management.
Makes
Once
sense.
that is sorted, then you go to the technology guys and say, okay, tell me what is your DevOps landscape today.
Hmm.
So this, okay, on a score of 1 to 10, you are maybe at 3 or 4. You don't need to go to 10, maybe a 8 is good enough for you.
Got it.
This is what you need to do to go from 4 to 8. And then you go down to the architects and say, okay, guys, this is your roadmap. This is
Hmm.
what needs to be done. It's a 6-month program. These are the kind of people we'll get in, we'll deliver this.
Hmm. And
Right? So
then it
that's
goes to the down
and
level.
then it goes to the execution level.
Hmm.
Then my hat changes from talking to the C level. I'm responsible for the delivery also at certain places.
Okay.
right? Or keeping an overall eye. But, and then, so this is one part of my job. The other part of my job is to figure out what is happening in the market,
mm,
what new offerings I need to launch,
mm.
right? So SRE is a big thing now.
Yeah.
So what should be the SRE offering?
Mm.
What should we sell to the market? How do I sell AI and ML solution? How do I create it? How do I sell it to the market? That's another part of my job, keeping an eye on. A third part of my job is as a Zensar services company,
Mm.
I need to tell to the world what we are doing.
Okay.
Because जो दिखता है वो बिकता है.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I have a lot of conversations with analysts from Gartner, Forrester, IDC,
Mm.
and we tell them, hey, this is what we are doing in this area. This is a new thing that we are launching. Give me feedback on what you are seeing in the world.
Nice.
That's another part of my job. So, like this, I have like multiple hats
Very
which
nice.
keep changing during the day.
Yeah. I think that that is important. Like someone at the high level explaining the companies about the culture also,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I have seen some companies who does not even understand DevOps and SRE culture.
correct, correct.
Like they ask SRE engineers to create a CI/CD pipeline.
Yeah,
So, that cultural mindset is also very important. And
yeah. I'll,
yeah, thanks for
I'll give
driving
you
it.
I'll give you one more example.
Okay, yeah, please.
So we were reached out by a very large company,
Acha. Hmm.
and they said we have a very different problem statement.
Okay.
The problem statement is in the last 4 years,
Hmm.
we've spent upward of $5 million on tooling.
Okay.
दुनिया का tool हमने डाल दिया है.
Hmm.
We have
Hmm.
it. You name it, the sexiest tool in the market, you will find it with us.
Okay.
The problem statement is nobody is using the damn tools.
Yeah.
So come and solve this for us.
Okay.
So what we realized is they were just buying random stuff from here and there
Hmm.
and telling people to use it
Hmm.
without showing the value of these tools.
Hmm.
And then they hired another consulting company who came and drew beautiful diagrams.
Hmm.
One of the best diagrams I've seen in the world.
Okay.
But the problem is those diagrams were drawn sitting in an air conditioned boardroom.
Yeah.
They are not drawn talking to engineers who are fighting tickets every day.
Yeah.
It's not related. Doesn't make sense. So
Totally. Totally. Uh,
yeah, that goes down to culture.
yeah. I was talking to the founder of Wasm Edge. Okay.
Mhm.
And, you know, he told me one interesting thing. Lot of people who use their tool or even who use Wasm, they
Mhm.
tell him that, okay, we are using it so that the build, the
Mhm.
binary size is reduced.
Yeah,
But what he says is that's not even the purpose of why we built it. Storage is the cheapest thing today. It doesn't matter
absolutely.
if your binary is 100 MB, is it 10 MB? Of course, it matters, but it's
Right.
not the critical thing. Why
Mm.
we did it is
Mm.
using Wasm, you don't have to create 100 different types of binaries, like
Mm.
one for a jar file, one for this, one for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead, you just create one and it works everywhere,
Mm.
right?
Mm. That's a very different use case.
Exactly. So that culture thing that you were talking about, right? Many
Mm.
people don't understand why they are doing, what is the actual thing to do, and what works for them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Nice. So, Savinder, you started as a build engineer, right?
Mhm.
A lot of people today talk that DevOps is not for freshers. Okay.
Yeah,
And you're also heading the engineering, DevOps engineering. So,
yeah.
what do you think? Like, is it, can you hire a DevOps fresher?
Okay. So I'll define the term fresher,
Nice.
right? Fresher to me does not mean some fresher and experience is different.
Nice.
You could have 0 years of experience,
Hmm.
still you will not be a fresher. I will not treat you as a fresher.
Okay.
So let's define the term fresher,
Hmm.
right? And fresher and experience level is different.
Hmm.
You might have 0 years of experience,
Hmm.
but still you could have done a lot of work where you will not be considered technically you're a fresher,
Got it.
but you have work experience
Hmm.
because you have created 5 projects, you have done 3 internships,
Hmm.
you have some on-premise jobs,
Hmm.
right? So to me, if you have done the work, then yeah, technically you don't have years of experience, but you can show your work and say that, hey, I've been actually doing this thing for 1 year
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
1.5 year, whatever,
Very
right?
nice.
And that is what matters because, and that's when I say, when I say show your work, it
Hmm.
doesn't mean show it on your resume.
Hmm. Hmm.
It means show me your GitHub profile, show me you're actually executing projects, give me URLs where I can go and see what you've done. And then your resume is redundant. Don't even need to look at it.
Got it.
If you can send me 5 URLs,
Hmm.
I can tell you in 6 minutes how much you're worth.
Okay.
Right? So, is DevOps for a fresher who has not done any kind of software development on their own?
Hmm.
No.
Okay.
For somebody who has done software development, and I consciously include the word development
Hmm.
because it could be small apps. It doesn't have to be a fancy as big
Hmm.
application.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as long as you know how stuff is created, you know
Hmm.
how an IDE works,
Hmm.
you've built something, you've compiled something, you've deployed something, and then you've complicated the heck out of it. You are good enough to getting into a company as a DevOps engineer.
Very nice. And remember, this is coming from a person who is heading the department. So, anyone who is watching the video, Savinder has put a very good point, right? So, as a fresher, you don't have that experience on the paper, but you have these many channels today. Like, you don't have to go to my channel or Savinder's channel, but there are things on the internet. Build those things. Like, instead of learning what is CI/CD, implement CI/CD, get that on your GitHub repository, and then share it with the organizations. They would definitely hire you, right?
And I always talk about learning in public,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I've kind of defined a way to do that also.
Acha.
So, for example, you want to learn Python.
Hmm.
Right? So Monday morning, you go on LinkedIn and
Hmm.
you put a one-line post.
Hmm.
Hey guys and girls, I'm started to learn Python over the next 6 weeks.
Nice.
And I will keep posting it here. Follow me if you want to learn Python.
Hmm. Hmm.
One line post, that's it. Monday to Friday, you learn your Python.
Hmm.
Now you can do it from a course, you can take tutorials, you can read documentation, whatever you're doing, doesn't matter. But you
Okay.
actually learn that thing. And as you're writing small scripts, small nuggets, you keep putting them on your GitHub repository.
Hmm.
Even if it's a 5 line script, doesn't matter. But put it in GitHub. Then on Friday evening, you create an account on hashnode.io.
Hmm.
And Hashnode specifically because it has a lot of community.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Don't go Medium and all that. Nobody reaches there. That's old school now. Gone.
Yeah.
Go to a hashnode.io or any equivalent platform
Hmm.
and then say week one of my learning of Python.
Hmm.
And then you say, these are the 3 topics that I learned.
Hmm.
These are 2 good tutorials that I saw. This is a good documentation. Give links.
Hmm. Hmm.
But that is only the first part. That is where people stop.
Hmm.
That is easy because anybody can do a Google search in 5 minutes and give the links. The important part is, hey, I ran this script, which is in GitHub. This is the error I got. This is how I solved it with screenshots. This is the syntax error I got. I spent 1 hour debugging this.
Hmm.
And this
Hmm.
is how I debugged it. And this was the problem.
Yeah.
You write all of that in your Hashnode entry. Friday evening, you put another post on LinkedIn. Guys, I learned these 3 topics.
Hmm.
This is my GitHub link. This is my hashnode.io link. And this is what I'm going to learn in the next week.
Yeah.
Repeat. And if you do this for 1 year with different technologies, after 1 year, when somebody is looking for a specialist in Python, He will see your GitHub profile, he will see
Yeah.
50 blogs, your interview is done.
Yeah. Agree. Totally.
But the challenge is nobody can do it for 1 year. Only that 2%, 5% will do it for 1 year.
Yeah. No, but that's a very good point, right? Like, uh, you are showing your experience already to the interviewer. Like,
Yeah,
if I am interviewing you, I would feel very, very comfortable if I see all those things, because I know that okay, I'm already talking to person who has done something. Now it's a matter of just checking few things, and your
correct.
interview is done.
I like to say to people that you
Hmm.
should get to a stage
Hmm.
जहां पे इंटरव्यू होना ही नहीं चाहिए.
Hmm.
It should be a discussion
Yes.
that, hey, I've seen your GitHub profile. Today, if somebody wants to interview me, I show them my YouTube
Hmm.
channel and my conferences.
Hmm. Hmm.
I say, hey, you want to know about platform engineering? Watch these two videos. You want
Hmm.
to know about SRE? Watch these read these 5 blogs
Hmm.
that are these things that I've done in these conferences.
Hmm.
Now let's talk. After that, it's a different level of conversation.
Yeah.
You're not checking whether I know this command or that language. It's sorted.
Hmm.
That's how you give interviews. That's how you crack interviews. That's how you earn big money.
Nice. Yeah. So thank you so much, Savinder, for being on the podcast today. And I really enjoyed it. Rarely we have these conversations, and your experience in the industry, the span of 24 years, right? So thank you so much for sharing that knowledge with us. And we would like to have more such conversations whenever you have time. So thanks
Thank
from
you,
all of
Abhishek.
our subscribers. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was fun talking to you, and you had some very good questions for me. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.